Kia ora from New Zealand. It's Poppy here, and I'm talking today about time and natural and native calendars. So I've put together this as an overview of the Mayan calendar. Have patience while I get it onto the right spot for you to see. So we actually, you can see the part where it says you are here, we're going into what's called Serpent. And if you can see on this graph, this is a diagram of the current ninth wave that we're in, which is, we've just finished the day cycle of day 96 and we're going into night 96 in the energy of Serpent. So just see how that is like the sine wave movement. There are 9 levels on the Mayan calendar, and they began billions of years ago. Each wave has intensified by 20 times through our evolution and through our time of creation. And so now we're at a culmination point where all of those waves have joined in 2011. So it's actually a grand time of completion. It's the ending of eras, and there's a lag in time. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about where we are on the calendar and why calendars are so important. So I'm kind of reading a little bit from notes because there was a lot to get down and far too much to write into an article, so that's why I'm choosing to speak today, and also encouragement of friends to keep speaking. So it's day 1 today of the 96th night in the 18-day period in the energy of Serpent. And you know, as I speak, this is my intuitive perspective, and I do it in collaboration with meditations that I have with Pachamama, Mother Earth, also known as Papatuanuku in my country where I'm living. And I'm also interacting with the energies of the sacred Mayan count of time. It's also very much inspired by recent conversations that I've had with some of my soul family from all around the world. Yeah, very wonderful to be able to speak and share this beautiful sacred knowledge with people that have this similar passion. So it's time to align with the true cosmic time waves that emanate from the cosmic axis, the tree of life. So Serpent relates to the creation of time. It is about alignment and justice. And 7 is the midpoint of a trecena and a mirror to divide dark and light. So it's a time to honour ethics and to be one with the source of creation. So it's really about starting to flow like in that sine wave motion in divine time. I've got some of this information from the website, Ian Lungold's website, mayanmagics.com, and I'll put a link underneath. But also, you know, as I was meditating, I was really getting the image of a pod of dolphins. And you know how a pod of dolphins, they come up for air, and then they go back down under the water, and they come back up in quite a sine wave motion. And as they come up, you know, they're air-breathing mammals. They're receiving all that inspiration of spirit. It's almost, to me, it was like an alignment of the day period within the cycles, and going under again was kind of a little bit about the light. So all very pertinent to the life of a dolphin, but different phases and different ways of being, and it's very much like that for us. So within this sine wave movement, there is like a 9-day code which started in 2011, so it's fairly recent. And so what it does is it takes us from the start of the day period, and then we peak, and that takes 9 days to get to the peak of the wave, and then from the peak it takes 9 days to get down to the sort of horizontal axis that divides night and day, and that's the second 9-day code. And then going down and descending down to the trough of the wave in the night phase is another 9-day code, and then up. And so I've just been, because these are relatively new and haven't been explored, I've just been looking at it and feeling into these energies myself and getting quite a sense of how they work together. So yeah, I'll try and cover that a little bit in here, but it's sort of something that I want to refer back to. So I'm just finding my place again. I have a little bit of a reading challenge, so just bear with me. Yeah, so there are actually many codes within the Mayan calendar, and they all have different uses and different purposes. So some may be agricultural, guides on community lives, different fire ceremonies, different things that are acknowledged through the different calendars. And so with the 9-day code being relatively new in time, within this ninth wave era that was activated in 2011, and that culmination of every era of the pyramid, that took eons of time, so creation has grown through stages to reach this completion, and that completion is actually within our consciousness. So consciousness is actually very important, and the influence on calendars and consciousness is also very important. So I'll try and explain a little bit more, and also review, I do share the work of Sean Caulfield and Carl Kellerman, which is also, they have a lot of knowledge and depth on that, and actually have spent time with the Mayan elders. I haven't, so a lot of what I'm coming through is very intuitive. It's more by connecting in with Pachamama, the earth. Yeah, but by having an overview of any, of this large perspective, we can become more certain of the transition that we're going through and the divine purpose of our lives now, as Western civilization is really going through an overhaul. And this will result into something new, and it is actually part of our collective creation. So when we get down to the trough of the night phase, here, hopefully you can see that. That's going to be in the energy of 3 Jaguar. And so it's what I'm really sensing and feeling is that Serpent is carrying these energies of the time and the divine fire of time, the correction and the justifying, and then in 9 days' time, the energy of Jaguar is going to come in and really add extra substance and integrity to that. So integrity is when something is held into a stable state, and we can bring true time into integrity by aligning only with that true time. So it is a direct connection with our cosmic or universal parents. And when we are actually just on that one, not out of phase, but just on that one true time, then interference is released and things become more transparent. The integrity holds. And, eventually, as we keep growing, we keep evolving, and we keep working on ourselves, separation will become a dim memory and just a reminder to us to maintain the integrity of heart within true time. Now, in my country, Aotearoa, which is commonly known as New Zealand, our native to the land people here, the Maori, are beginning to make a return back to the Maori calendar, the Mana Mataka. Now, calendars give us a reference to observe nature, and they give meaning and purpose to living. It's a reference to one's culture and belonging to the land, to the mother, to Papatuanuku, Pachamama, Gaia, the Mother Earth. It's actually really heartbreaking that in this country there's a very high rate of Maori youth suicide, and this is actually, in my perspective and what I see from studying colonisation, calendars, evolution, and how it's all come to be, it goes back to the hijacking of that culture, of native cultures. And so to actually get out from underneath that spell with its calendars, with its legislation and everything, it actually does require a movement away from the colonisers' Gregorian calendar and a return back to the Maori calendar, which is very unique to them. So that the culture here has actually been very raped and pillaged, as in every culture, that as the colonisations happen around the earth as a result of the 6th wave, and there's been massive fallout. So there's nothing sacred that I can see about the colonisers' way and their governing. and I'm just alluding to something recent that happened in our country, while we're all going through this COVID thing. That legislation was put in place where live aborted babies are left to die unsupported, and also apparently baby body parts are used in mainstream medicine, which is very far away from being sacred and very far away from being in alignment with nature. So embryonic tissue has actually been discovered to be an ingredient in some vaccinations, but do your own research on that. Don't take anything that I say as gospel. You need to find, we all have to find our own way and do our own research on that. So what is sacred then? Source connection with sky and earth contains all of creation within it. It brings us back to the sacred way of living and being. So Father Sky, Mother Earth, they have a heartbeat. Time is pulsed. It's pulsed in waves to Earth. It comes from the heart of Father Sky, the cosmic axis. Okay, so getting back, colonisation introduced the Vatican-based Gregorian calendar to this country and the world in general, and also the word spells of legislation. And there's another one, such as the Tohunga Suppression Act. The Tohunga are the medicine people, and that applied the native medicines that were here to heal the people. This was made illegal in this country, and this is a work of colonisation. It's a work of government, and government was the kind of thing that was installed within the sixth wave, and this is the kind of thing that we're finding our way back out of, to return more to a shamanic way of living, which is aligned with heart and nature. Okay, so laws were written to control people. The breakdown of any culture will negatively affect the well-being of that culture, and sadly Western civilization has been running a genocidal agenda. It's a genocidal agenda. Just ponder that for a moment. So it's playing out very strongly now, and we the people are the solution to this. So when people do not know who they are, and when they do not know why they're here and what they are to do, people are lost and they're suffering. And this has resulted in severe mental health challenges. Aligning with calendars that flow with nature in true time is actually proving to be healing. I know that the Mayan calendar has been an integral part of my healing, and I have needed massive healing. And I know that so many of you that I talk to, people from all around the world, you share your healing with me, and it's sacred. We hold that with love and with care. Now the Mana Mataka is a traditional Maori practice of using knowledge of the star systems, the moon cycles, the tides and the environment. The practice is traditionally used for dictating when to carry out tasks. Winter, for example, was a time of reflection and planning, while the warmer months were good for harvesting food. Winter's also a little bit like the night, and I'm in winter here, and honestly, I really feel like I want to be a little bit in bear mode. I need extra sleep, I need extra time for introspection, and the night phase is also a good time for that introspection. And I'm just leaving a link because I quoted something out of a newspaper article which came out recently in New Zealand, just above there. So I'll leave that link for people to see or refer to if they want to do extra looking into what I'm talking about. Now, how we're all connected. The Pleiades, it's very significant to the Maya and many native cultures of the earth. So it's known by Maori as the Matariki, the Japanese as Subaru, and many other names that are given from many other cultures. It's with the Hopi, it's with many of the Native American tribes, Chinese. So many indigenous cultures hold this knowledge and this awareness of the Matariki, and so really we are all one, and many people now acknowledge that we are star-seeded here on earth, and that we are here to support her transition and her evolution at this time. And I've left another link which you can refer to if you would like to. So return to true time and the calendars that relate can end the disease and the disharmony that has been held in the calendar built upon commerce and not nature. It's known as the Gregorian calendar. And also there's an out of phase calendar that usurped the authority of the Mayan timekeepers, and it's known as the dream spell, which has just really thrown things askew, you know. And I'm very sensitive, and other people I know are very sensitive, and you can literally feel that wobble, because in that out of phase state of true time running and then slight out of phase time running, you know, that's where the disease and the disharmony exist. And there are codes and spells and energies within calendar systems that run as an overlay that control and harness nature when they're not correct and when they're not lining up to true time. So it is time for us to release them, as we will, and to return to the calendar systems that support, honour and align with divine will. And this is the will of Mother Earth and Father Sky. Also, I just want to mention that there's a man called Timothy Allen, and he's found incredible geometrically perfect patterns within the Mayan calendar, and some of them are just gorgeous. They look like the flower of life. They're just perfect geometrical things. So I'm very passionate about the Mayan calendar, as you can all tell, also because of its absolute ancientness, that all of these amazing codes that are mathematically perfect, geometrically perfect, are in them. And what's made our existence imperfect is our movement away from that truth, from the truth of nature, the truth of being, us being lost and caught in things that are off and incorrect. Okay, so getting back to the night phase, the shadow, or the night, is when we have an opportunity to grow while we may not feel the presence of our cosmic or universal parents as strongly in the night. So where I live, the parents are known as Papatuanuku, and she is Mother Earth, and Ranganui, who is Father Sky. So as I hear the prayers of the beautiful people of this land here that I know, those names are often mentioned, and it's a foundation of the culture, and it's very sacred. It can be very challenging in the night phase or the ninth wave. We have the opportunity to go within and to really work on ourselves. Our cosmic parents are there, but unlike some religious ideas, they don't do our personal work for us. There is no saviour mentality. We are responsible to grow and live and learn ourselves. So in our physicality, we are dependent on these cosmic parents for life, and we learn to rely upon ourselves, though, for our personal development and our evolution. Consciousness is the human co-creative force, and this is why it's so important to explore how it evolves and have the initiative and intuition of heart to affect creation to the best of our ability. So from what I have observed within the New Age spiritual movement, there's been a lot about focusing only on the self and fostering an idea of individualism. And then many indigenous cultures who live closely with nature see themselves as a contributing part of community living. So it's more about we and it's less about me. So we is more about unity, and me is still a little bit isolating and not so healthy as I see it now. So there is a sense of sharing in a lot of the native cultures that align with nature, and there appears to be more of a sense of greed and competition for resources and cultures under the influences of colonisation, legislation, and out of alignment time calendars. So we need to surrender to divine will and let go of our will now. It can feel like death, and there may be pain as we let go, but the process is actually very sacred, and it can be very meaningful. So, go with it. As we keep growing together, there is now more of an attraction to like frequency people. The highest frequencies are love, joy, peace and freedom, and that's an outworking of what frequency is, where, as opposed to the lowest frequencies of fear and guilt and shame and blame and division Yeah. So this is what we're evolving into as the time frequencies are just moving so fast now. So there used to be an attraction where highly sensitive and compassionate people were attracted to insensitive and self-centered people. Some, depending on what we needed for our evolution and development. But now with our change, we are finding our soul family, and we are empowering one another just to be our authentic selves. And it's beautiful. We see one another, and we also see ourselves in one another. And as we connect, we are inspiring and encouraging one another. So, it can be very loving and joyful. It certainly arouses an immense amount of gratitude in me. I just see these beautiful souls, and it helps me to carry on. It helps me to be my authentic self, and it's just beautiful to see other people becoming more of themselves. And this connecting it's so good for creation, and it really keeps us going, at these really times that are very difficult. So let's keep reminding one another of who we are and why we're here, and just let's keep reflecting back the beauty that we find in one another, because we are love, and we are the result of all our experiences in balance and in harmony. We're becoming clearer and stronger, and as we feel people going through their struggles, we may simply hold them in our heart and send love and blessings to them, because we can't do their journey for them, but we can let them know we've got their backs. We can let them know they're not alone. We allow them to grow, from the guidance of their hearts, and just to let them know that we're here. This is unity or connection, and we can only be there for some. We can't be there for everybody. We just have to allow people to go through their own development and evolution, but just really being there as one. So oh my gosh, that was so funny. Our hearts will find the balance and harmony here. Self-care is a good foundation, and most of our soul family would only wish that we did that for ourselves anyway, and I wish that for you as well. So we are generating our energy in the way that our heart knows. And as we generate our energy, we really grow our auric field, and we become so much more strong and so much more robust. It's so much easier to have a very strong energy around us. And there was just one other little detail that I picked up this morning when I was meditating, and it was about this beautiful Nigerian woman who's a doctor that spoke out very passionately and very much from the heart about what they were doing to cure COVID-19 in their hospitals over in the United States. And she spoke very passionately, and it was on the internet for a very short time before it was censored by those that still seek to control. And she's a woman, I think she was from Nigeria, and what happened was that she was really awfully defamed. Her culture, her Nigerian culture, was totally abused in what I see, and that in the Nigerian culture, and actually in a lot of indigenous cultures where people are more clear and they are connected to the land, I'm saying I have a connection with the land, although I've been confused about what my culture really is, but people do see beyond the veils, and they do see entities, and they do see things that can latch into people to do with things that we might call sexual hijacking or anything like that. Now, a lot of people tried to call her crazy, and they tried to say, well, we shouldn't take her on as being credible or scientific because of this. Now, this actually is part of her culture, which is a little bit separate from her medical knowledge and everything like that. So I think we always have to be careful to not diss things too quickly, but to have an understanding of, why is that person speaking so passionately? What really gets me is that she was speaking from her heart, and what was apparent is a person here is speaking from her heart. She's talking about many lives being saved, and then people are coming in and calling her crazy, and really defaming her from what I can only see as ignorance. And I also see that ignorance coming through people that I thought would have known better, people that I thought were very connected with the land themselves and very spiritual people, and had that sight to also see beyond the veils as well. So yeah, it's I think compassion and heart, just following a flow of our heart wherever we go, it's really important, and also really vital that we connect with what gives meaning, what gives purpose, what gives hope, and what gives healing in this life. So I'm going to leave it there and say blessings to you all. Thank you for all that are in my life, that support me, that support me emotionally, that have my back, people that I can talk to, that I can express my heart to in confidence and in trust. Thank you. And and Lakesh. Blessings.